Good morning, everyone. It is Tangent Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Mercury retrograde, I guess, or just the universe guiding us to really make a home on YouTube for these discussions. So I'm sorry that took a minute, and I thank you for being patient with me and for finding me here on YouTube instead of on Instagram this morning as well. But YouTube is going to be the home, right? And this is where the videos sit and stay for perpetuity. So it's always here. It's okay. So it's Tuesday, and this is our time to go over and check in with, hi, Chris, where we're at this week astrologically, mostly with the moon cycles during the week. And then we're going to look at the workouts of this week, how that relates to the moon cycles. The workouts over at UnicornWellness.Studio. And then I always have, good morning, Shannon, a little tangent, right? We kind of do the check-in and the housekeeping and the basics on Tuesday for UnicornWellness.Studio members, but even just for the community. There are quite a few of you who are coming to join us that are not yet members of the site, and it's so beautiful, and you're like, welcome. And then today, so I have it kind of, in a little bit of a plan here this morning to talk about Pisces a little more in depth. I may do a separate video on that also, but I've been wanting to do this almost for like a week and a half, and was like, let's just do it today. And kind of a talk through, and then a spinoff of yesterday's weekly tarot reading, that the big topic was healing guilt this week. And you're like, ooh, if I could get it done in a week, hey now. So there's some things to explore there. I plan for an hour together, and if it's a little over that, I'll stay. You're welcome to stay. You don't have to. And then this video lives here, and you can come back to it at any time. So we're doing them live in real time in relation to the workouts, but the content of our discussions can last, right, in perpetuity. So if you're here in the room and you're joining me and each other today, say hi to each other. It is a community endeavor. We are literally, unicorns sprinkled all over the world. So it's nice to have these moments where you can say hi to each other and be connected in the live moment. I am planning and plotting to do some more live events, probably just here in Brooklyn to begin with. I used to travel a lot to do them way back, and I'm feeling the need to have more of a community connection this year. So look for that. I'll clearly announce it when I get it planned, and then send out an email to everyone who's on the newsletter emailing list. Okay, so say hi in the comments. I love to know who's here. You are welcome to comment and ask questions at any point, especially on Tangent Tuesdays, because this is a conversation, right? I'm here to answer things, support you all, and then offer insight as we go as well. And so I'm looking back at the comments. Oh, hi, Becky. Okay, so yeah, again, quick apology that I'm not live on Instagram this morning. Usually I mirror on both. Hi, Paula. But I don't know what's going on. This happened yesterday with my laptop, and I restarted everything, updated everything, and I still can't get the live to work over there. So that means one platform, because I only have my phone to work with. So we're on YouTube. So there you go. This tends to be where most of y'all end up now for these, which is awesome. And we get a longer form content here. So that's cool too. All right, here we go. As you guys come on in, say hi. So this, we're out of most of the new moon energies. Most. It was last Wednesday, right? And so that was in Pisces. And I do really think, and I'm still hearing the feedback, that those of us who have Pisces in a prominent place in our chart, like in those personal areas of sun, rising, or moon, we're kind of smoothing through this new moon a little bit easier than those who are not natives to the Pisces energy. I'm not saying I'm like totally cruising. I do feel very like, let's just daydream and take a nap most of the time, but I feel really positive about things and kind of go, yeah, this little phase is gonna smooth over. And then there's others who Pisces is not a native, like, personal planet for you guys. And so it's a little like, what? Like feeling really, in that, like, how do I surrender? How do I have faith? How do I let go? How do I allow healing and cleansing? So we're still mucking our way through all of this. The newsletter, the Unicorn Wellness newsletter, went out Wednesday with the new moon. Yeah. And we really discussed a lot about it being like that mud component. And last week we talked about the mud and it just being like, ugh. So because in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the end of winter. We're headed into spring. So we're in transition phase. Transition is not very comfortable. And I find that this transition into spring is kind of the heaviest. Like our foods need to change, our energy is having to catch up. And hello, daylight savings. I think one of the dumbest things we still do, I have to say that's hugely judgy, but it's really silly to mess with our circadian rhythms. Like stick to the sun. When it's dark, we'll wind down. When it's light, we'll, wind up. Like, So there's a bit of this muddy recovery too this week because of daylight savings. So hang in there. The moons this week are very yummy if we allow them to be, right? And that's, anytime we talk about the astrology, this is general astrology. This is not like everybody's absolutely going to feel this way. We are all unique. We are all our own unique unicorn, right? And we have our natal charts that denote where we're going to have ease with certain placements and where we're going to have a real challenge with other placements. But this week is Taurus and Gemini and Cancer. And Taurus, although stubborn, a little muddy. And I get to say things like that because I'm a Taurus sun. Like, I can own that. It's a little stuck in the mud sometimes in general. But it's also really yummy and materialistic in the best ways of sensuality, of sensual pleasures, of yummy foods, snuggling, reading, quiet time. Adorning yourself and things that feel good. So there is some ease to that yesterday and today. And then we head into Gemini, which is chatty and informational and gregarious for the most part. So that's a fun one too. And then we round out the week in Cancer energy. Cancer energy can also kind of be, it's watery, so it can also be a little depressed. And it can go the murder route, but the best phase of Cancer is the great mother of like having a balance of responsibility and snatching up by your ear and going, you're going to need to work on that. But taking the time to self-care and to nurture and maybe self-soothe a little bit. It's very snuggly, cuddly too. And then hop into movement, go handle your shit, So I think this week is really nice, but I do see members and clients and loved ones who, if they're don't have a native Pisces, it's a little sticky, tricky right now. Workouts this week. So workouts this week on the site. The series for these 4 weeks is Root Camp. And I thought I was being funny and cute instead of boot camp, because we don't do boot camp on the site. It's always about working with your body and not against it, and not being aggressive with your system, but really you can still be strong and you can still be fierce, but not be aggressive. So this 4-week cycle is again about the root chakra, because we need rooting and grounding in all of this Pisces water energy. The detriment of Pisces is that it is the ocean. Just think of Pisces as the ocean. You can get lost in it. You can get capsized by it. It is deep and big, and you need rooting and grounding, right? Things to tether you to earth and to your day-to-day life and to the functional doing of things. So the workouts this month and this week are about the root chakra, about the hips, about the low back and the glutes, and there is a ton about the knees in this month in this series. So your root chakra is your sense of safety and security in the world. It has everything to do with how we can really manifest. Now, solar plexus is manifestation central, but you need to be rooted and grounded in order to get things to come into fruition. So all the chakra energetic systems are important. I'm not demeaning any of them. But when you're talking about manifestation and healing, I really feel like the major work is 7th, opening the crown, allowing divine, messaging to come through. The heart is always important, but I'm going to really minimize today and say 7th. third and first. So first is your root chakra, third is your solar plexus, and the seventh is crown. So these are like, you need the information to come in, you need to be connected to the ethers and to the cosmos, but then you've got to have the confidence and be able to digest this 3D realm, which is not an easy task to do. And then you have to be rooted in security and feel safe in this 3D incarnation in order to get things to manifest. So the workouts in this 4-week cycle, in this month cycle, are all about the root chakra, because we need that energy. There's a lot of healing to do in our sense of safety in the world, and we're at an ending and a closure for new fresh starts and new beginnings. Fresh starts and new beginnings in the astrological new year on the 21st, where Aries enters and spring begins. That's the astrological new year. We want as much healing as possible by that gateway point, because then the energy is going to support some off and running and receiving. So the movement patterns have everything to do with getting you grounded, feeling secure, feeling supported. The glutes, your butt, the glute muscles support your low back. Your low back is your finances in the world and your sense of safety in financial departments, and your spine, right? Feeling like you've got a strong backbone so that you can be supported and feel supported in the world. Core muscles is the core. It's the core of you, right? And this is where root and creativity and the solar plexus really live. Core is everything from the bottom of, you know, your pelvic floor to the end of your neck, your spine. But when we talk about core muscles, right, this is like pelvic floor, abdominal muscles, and it's kind of rib cage and down. And then also this knee work. There's a lot of knee work in this month. So if you guys are, you know, have questions about it, our knees are a capacity, like our knees and hamstrings are the capacity to move forward in the world on our own volition, right? Feeling confident to do what we want to do, to be who we want to be, okay? And our knees have to do with ancestral wounds. So the right side is typically, this is, you know, masculine, and the left side is typically feminine. But knee issues get into grandfather, grandmother issues, and particularly father, grandfather. I know it's like, how do you know which one is which? It's just this soupiness of how well did these people move forward in the world. If you know their stories, this will affect how you feel brave and courageous to move forward as well. So everybody's unique, right? And our ancestral and our familial stories are all unique. So you kind of look at the layer cake of that uniqueness. And then for those of us who are potentially having knee issues right now, we've got to look at these father issues big time, potentially look at the grandfather issues. And if that's not kind of throwing off some whoop whoop healing signals, then we refer back to the mother wound and the grandmother wounds and just general ancestral lines. So again, we're working on the knee, again, the capacity to move forward in the world this month. So what else? I'm looking at the notes. Okay, so the movement is helping support us. We absolutely need our workouts in this Pisces season big time to keep us grounded and rooted. It will be one of those times we really don't feel like doing it because Pisces is so watery and so dreamy and just kind of wants to go zone off a little bit. We need to have time for that also so that we can receive messages, but being grounded so that the messages make sense and so that they land. And again, those puzzle pieces being thrown at us, that we can put them together in a way that help us in our evolving and in our healing as we go through things. Okay, so let's talk about Pisces in and of itself a little bit more. Pisces is the end of the zodiac. Okay, so zodiac is a wheel, it's a pie, it's a circle, and it begins at Aries and ticks through each of the signs and ends in Pisces. This is why Pisces season is the end of the astrological year, and that Aries is the beginning of the astrological new year. And so when we look at a circular calendar rather than our Gregorian like cubes and blocks, with the zodiac, we also see the similarity and the connection to the moon of moving in phases and cycles and in circles rather than in linear lines. Okay, so Pisces is the end of the zodiac. It's the grandmother, the sage, the wise woman, the oracle. It's the most psychic sign of the wheel. Okay, think of it as the ocean. Just think, I know it's the two little swimmy fish, but think of it as the ocean. It's all the emotions, all of the feelings, all of the feels. And the depth, it can be gorgeous, crystal clear, turquoise water, or it can be like, holy, it's black and I don't know what's down there. So when we get into Pisces season, when the sun is in Pisces, we're looking at the end of the astrological new year. So we're closing a cycle. We're looking at endings. We're looking at closures. We're looking at release. So think of it as one big giant full moon. What no longer serves our highest and greatest good, what's dragging us down, what's acting like the undertow that's like got us choking and sputtering on ourselves, or what's allowing us to float and swim and feel at ease and faith and surrender. So this is an ending and it's a finishing up. It can be a cleansing and a clearing and a healing because water is all of these things, but it is closures. So we're either coming up against, right, closures with ourselves, emotionally, intellectually, from a healing perspective. This is a great time of healing. Let's put this to rest. Let's really close this up and go, thank you for those lessons. And I understand them as blessings. And let's move forward with, empowered information. It's also, what have you not been looking at? What continues to drag you under? What, again, has you choking, gasping for air, and feeling smothered and feeling like you cannot breathe? Okay, so this is where if you're not a native Pisces, meaning sun rising or moon is not in Pisces, then this may be a tricky, like, I don't get the ease and surrender. I don't trust the universe. Everything feels like shit just went wrong and like things are going bad. There's a no. There's a lot of no's happening right now. Okay. So when you've put yourself out there or you're aiming for something and you get a no back, we have to stay really clear and focused that that's the universe saying, this is not for you. At least it's not right now. So it's take you in a different direction. So we have to be grateful for the no's. We have to understand what a no means and how to move forward with that. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt our feelings. It doesn't mean we don't need to like sit with it and feel it and go, okay, that sucked because I really wanted that. But we go, I trust. I have faith that that wasn't the way it was supposed to go. So I'm going to head down this path. This is calling us out. Pisces is finishing up, cleaning up, clearing up, asking us to cut ties with careers, relationships, people and places and things that no longer serve our highest and greatest good. So full moons, right, are water clearings too, about releasing what no longer serves us. Pisces is one big giant full moon, repeating that. Okay, so we need to understand that Pisces season is like the power washer, and if there's nothing stuck on the side of the building that needs to come off, it might just feel like a good shower, a little invigorating or a little tiring, like, oh my God, that just blasted me, but it's cool. If you haven't really been releasing and letting go, these stuck energies and the power washer of it's just going to look like things falling apart, and it may very feel like you can't move forward. So that's the biggest thing about Pisces to understand, is that in the Northern Hemisphere, it is the end of winter. Okay, and winter is about death and dying and compost and introspection and reflection. And we are literally like cruising into the last few days of Pisces season. So the universe is like, hurry up and release, like get rid of it. Can't you hear me? That is not for you. This is not working. This is hard. It doesn't mean that things aren't challenging, but when things are like broke. So on a micro scale, like my computer will not do YouTube live today. That means I cannot do both Instagram and YouTube. This is like the silly, but you'll understand. I can't do both of those things. I have to choose one, right? And I choose to use my phone for YouTube because that stays in perpetuity, knowing that the hundreds of our members scattered across the world are watching this after the fact, not live. So I go, okay, then that's what we're doing. And I have to release Instagram, and I go, there's some reason that it doesn't want me to be there for Instagram today. It's fine. I don't get it. I don't like it. And I can be mad, and I could have been a half hour late and still be cursing at my computer of why it won't work. And you go, nope, it's just not going to work. So you have to look at the things in your life that you're like angry about and trying to fix and trying to change continuously that is wasting energy, sucking up energetics, and not allowing you to put them towards healing or creative endeavors. What can you create? What can you make? What can you move forward with? Because this week offers us a lot with how to move forward. Taurus's work ethic, like it will just keep going. It is consistent and loyal, right? And Gemini is the communicator and the teacher, and a networker. And Cancer is the great mother. And if you do Cancer right, then you get the balance of nurture and empowerment. So this week offers us a lot, but it's also going to be like, we're creeping up on the 20th. You got X amount of days to really get this done. So again, there's times in the astrology that like push us, literally. The coach that shoves you on the back and goes, I don't care if your shoe's tied, go. And you're trying to tie your shoe. Meanwhile, the ball's in play. So we really have to tie the shoe, get going, and let go of some shit. Right? Or maybe you're the kid that like pulls the lace out and goes, I'm playing without my shoes. I don't know. But we have to move, and we have to be honest about this. So Pisces is big, and it can feel overwhelming. And if it's not a native in your chart, then it may be more overwhelming. Then that means extra grounding, diligent meditation, and recruiting potentially other people to help you see and support your process and your healing, right? And then just kind of allowing, because Pisces is about that float, that surrender. I'm going to let it go that I can't get both of these things happening today. Fine. There's a lot of things I have to let go. I am behind on my schedule. I can sit here, and I used to get really pissed off about it, or I can just make my checklist for the week and go, this is the pace I actually can go at. Okay. It's slower. And it's not as quick, and it may not have as much return or reward, but that's the pace I have to move at. So I'm going to surrender to it. Okay? So understanding the astrology of things and how to navigate it allows us to have more compassion, more permission for us to go at slower, usually slower paces. Okay? But there's also a push. Be clear, this is an ending and cycle closures. This is big karmic leveling up. How can you release this shit? Or are you going to haul this anvil all the way around another astrological year? And you heard these things in January also, because there's this release and hauling kind of bit, even though it's the Gregorian calendar. So we have to be willing to release what drowns us, what pulls us under. And yesterday in our weekly tarot reading, all signs point to guilt. Okay, and we're going to come back to that because I'm going to do one little quick bit of astrology before we head into like how to work with guilt, how to heal it, how to minimize it, right? And how to release and surrender and have faith in its process. So Pisces season is coming to a close, but we still have Mercury retrograde in Pisces. It will turn direct on March 28th. But that shadow phase of the 2 weeks after keeps us in some deep Pisces energy until like April 11th. Again, if you are a Pisces native and your sun, your rising, or your moon, you might really like this retrograde. It's still got some quirks to it, but I'm not mad at it, you know. But I think if Pisces isn't a home sign for you, then it's not going to be great. Aries, Chiron is now in Aries. Right? It moved from Pisces to Aries. And Chiron is our wounded healer and the wounds of our deepest wounds, okay? And it just moved out of Pisces into Aries. And that's going to be that way for like 7 years. So there's some major, Aries is anger, father wounds, grandfather wounds, toxic masculinity healing to be done as we've moved out of that. But so we've got some interesting layers that we're working with, and then the Uranus and Taurus business. So the layer cake it's never just a vanilla cake, right? It's like vanilla with lemon curd with raspberries and sprinkles on top. And you're like, dude, I am allergic and I can't eat gluten. How do I work with this cake? So we still have a lot of strong Pisces energy through about April 11th, okay? But we're moving into Aries in a lot of ways, which is go, 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 fire, fight, move. But we've got to clean out what no longer works, and we have to ditch. I just keep seeing anvils. We got to untie them from our ankles so that we can swim and go. Okay, so Pisces can feel, hi Erin, a little bit like you're just being dragged in the undertow. Okay, so with that, our weekly tarot yesterday, right? What can we be working with? I thought it was really interesting that what came out of it is that guilt is what we're healing. Okay, and we've spent a lot of weeks, and you can go back to the other Tangent Tuesdays and listen to, like, we talk about the spectrum of healing wounds. That never changes. Okay, and then we've talked a lot about anger, because anger is going to come up in the next 7 years. It's going to come up. And as spring bursts forth, like Aries is immature and petulant and fiery and me first. So we're coming from this depth of emotion and healing and psychic empathy for ourselves and the world. And then we're headed into me. It's not particularly 7 years of anger. It's 7 years of learning how to heal toxic masculinity. Okay, anger is not particularly bad, but we have to learn how to work with it in a balanced fashion. Chiron is the wounded healer. We moved from Pisces into Aries with Chiron. And so Chiron says we will be dealing with the wounds of our anger for our highest and greatest good. Once we heal them, it's like magic. Okay, but we have to be aware of where we get angry, where we get frustrated, how we work and deal with that. Because as a collective culture, as we transition out of the patriarchy, I mean, that's not a slow, it's not a fast process, it's slow. So, but what we're really healing as we move out of the patriarchy, yes, we have the return of the divine feminine energy and we come into balance, but we all have to release toxic masculinity. This is where our anger is fiery and burns shit down and creates enemies and fear. And we're being pushed to go, you can't do that anymore. Anger's not really terrible. It points to where you're passionate. It points to where you want to protect something, where you feel very fierce about something, where you feel like you weren't protected. Okay? But in the next 7 years, we are being pushed to deal with it, to work with it, to integrate our anger in constructive ways and turn from toxic masculinity into divine masculinity, which is willpower, protection, moving forward quickly, independence in the world. So there's, always the balance and the imbalance of it. Guilt is what we're being called on this week to work with. And we know that that's not going to end in a week, right? And so as it came up, I thought, well, we talked a lot about anger. We will continue to talk a lot about wounds and healing and how that happens. Moment of wounding, grieving, mourning, because that has to happen, cognitive acceptance, cognitive awareness, and eventually forgiveness, right? And that the grieving, wounding part is the most powerful part of your healing, and it can happen at any, steps 2 through 5 at any time on the linear chronological spectrum of things. But it has to happen in order to heal, okay? And we talked about how anger points the finger at where the wound is, and that anger is just really loud sadness. It's cranked way up. Okay, and it's more of a masculine attribute, and let's say solar attribute, because masculine energy is solar energy and feminine energy is lunar energy, and it has nothing to do with gender, because gender is a made-up construct anyhow, and has nothing to do with your you know, how you identify or how you were born, you know. So these are the energies at play. But yesterday what came up was guilt. Okay, so when we look at wounding and healing, it often really points to unworthiness. And that's kind of the boiled down of it, that in order to heal, we must reconnect and understand that we are whole and worthy because we are here, because we are a divine spirit. We're not separate from divinity. That spirituality is an understanding that we are connected and that we are the essence of stardust in this physical form. Hi, Jen. And it's really, really beautiful and powerful. But our human incarnation is ugly, messy, chaotic, because we've signed up to learn these lessons in a certain way. And so guilt plays another role of where to look at the wounds. I do see guilt as a more of a lunar energy in that feminine aspect. And I've always taught from a physical perspective as a coach, right, that you got to ditch the guilt. It's not, it serves, I used to say it serves no purpose. Nothing constructive can come out of guilt. And I still believe that on that flippant, quick level of like, there's nothing constructive in anchoring in guilt. However, it's an emotion and a feeling just like anger, and that it is about acceptance and integration, and it points to where the wounds are. So what is the definition of guilt, right? If we're trying to understand how to work with guilt and how to heal it, because our weekly tarot called us out yesterday to really get clear on emotional maturity and healing our guilt levels. And so I'm hearing this as the anvil that's like pulling us under and really keeping us from healing, and very much keeping us from moving forward in our highest and greatest good, and totally keeping us from the highest expression of our soul's purpose in this incarnation. So shit, we better talk about guilt and figure it out. And I wrote it down and I went, I'm real comfortable talking about anger now and teaching from that space. And I'm really comfortable about poking at the wounds and individually guiding you all through the steps, or channeling through the steps for you all to work with in order to heal. But when it comes to the blanket of guilt, I get a little flippant, like just ditch it. It's so useless. Okay, that's easy to say and like not helpful. So the definition of guilt, I actually looked it up because I was like, okay, let's start here with words, right? That the definition of guilt is, where is it? Is that, wait, where did I write it? I want to get this right. Oh, I wrote it in 2 different places. That's right. It's the fact of having committed offense, right? Like if you're charged guilty with something. But it's also the feeling of doing or being wrong. So there's these 2 bits of it. So we carry around guilt. So yesterday in the tarot reading, we pulled Mot, right? Sometimes it's pronounced Mot. That she is the Egyptian goddess, right? And typically dealing with fairness, and that she measures our soul at the time of transition, at the time of death, against a feather. And that if it's equal to the feather, right, then we ascend. And then if it's not, then man, we got another reincarnation to do, because we're still carrying heavy toxic things that we need to transmute and alchemize and heal. All these words are interchangeable. That the feeling of doing or being wrong comes from all kinds of places, right? And so we have to be able to release. And I'm trying to work with this in a way that makes sense, but I'm also working through it in my words to make it make sense for you, to help it make sense. Guilt is heavy. That's number 1. And just like worry, worry is putting energy into things that have never happened and that may never happen. And when you put your energy there, then you tend to manifest those things, because that's, where intention goes, energy flows. So we need to be careful where our attention is put and where the energy is put, because we want to manifest good stuff and we want to heal and move forward. So stress is like, we have to learn how to reframe. Ooh, I'm freaking out and worrying about this, and I've spent all day like worrying about this. Okay, I just put a lot of energy towards that actually happening. Ooh, Cancel, reframe. I understand where my worries are in this human incarnation. I have faith in divine spirit. Here is my plan of how to get these things to go better. And I'm going to sit in meditation or walk in meditation or journal in meditation, focusing on the way I want things to be and giving thanks and gratitude for what I already have and giving thanks and gratitude for these better things, in my opinion, happening. So empowerment happens by ditching guilt and stress. Guilt is heavy. It drags us under, okay? It keeps us weak. This is another form of perfectionism. We want things to be perfect, so we never do anything because nothing could ever be perfect. So that prevents you from trying. That prevents you from taking a risk, taking a leap, and failing and learning something and moving forward. And I always say in private, sessions that even a wrong decision moves energy. Even if you make the completely wrong decision and you fuck something up, then you go, well, that was the wrong decision, and you know to go the other direction now. So I really encourage you all to fuck something up in order to heal. That doesn't mean that you take a sledgehammer to everything, but you got to make decisions, and you have to move the tide, and you got to stir the energy in order to make transitions happen. So guilt is the feeling of heaviness on your soul. It's really heavy. So if Mont was to weigh your soul and you have so much guilt, man, that feather, not winning. You're going to go back into the reincarnation. You need another go around. You're carrying around too much shit. Okay? So it's this feeling of being wrong, or that we have done something wrong, or that we are inherently wrong. If we anchor into a spiritual practice, a committed spiritual practice, we know that we are not wrong. We are whole exactly as we are, because we are here, we are worthy. We are an incarnated soul, right? That divine spirit said, yes, we want to see your expression in this lifetime. So we're right from the beginning, okay? But we have to get back to these releases. How does guilt build up? Well, it's usually a wound, and it's usually that internal programming that I always kind of point to the SOAS of these subconscious and conscious patterns, people telling us we're wrong and unworthy. Parents and family members, a culture that, for women in particular, does not value us. If you are a minority, your skin is darker, plus you're female, man, you are the lowest of the low. And these are the cultural programmings that we learn and that we take in as unworthiness. Then they can transmute into guilt of, I'm wrong, I must be wrong all the time, I have wronged other people because they treat me this way. So when we have this wrong feeling, we've either done something that we're not proud of, right? Because if you have done something and you feel really wrong about it, I said this thing to this person and it has been haunting me for years. That's a constructive use of guilt, right? So where anger points to where the wound is, what you want to protect, what wasn't protected. You get really mad. It points to where passion is, but it typically points to where you weren't protected or you want to protect someone else, okay? Guilt points to either something that you did do that wasn't right, that hurt someone, okay? And it's weighing heavily on your soul. Here's the anvil. Well, guess what? If you really did something that you're not proud of, that sat poorly and hurt your soul and continues to hurt your soul, you have every moment from that moment of recognition forward to go adjust it, to help minimize it, or to help release the guilt by trying to make that situation better, okay? So the feeling of guilt, here we go, we're actually gonna point to some constructive, linear paths, points to, one, where we felt we've done something wrong, okay? And that's good, because if you're feeling bad about something badly, then you go, how can I make that better? It's really simple. And you may need to apologize to someone. You may need to talk to someone. You may need to go fix or return something. And these may be years gone bad, right? And you go, well, that person's actually not around anymore. That person will not hear me, will not receive me. Okay, if they're no longer on this planet, in this earthly plane, then letter writing is one of the best ways to do it, because energetically they're still present and they're still here. We're still connected. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes shape. So if there's a letter that you need to write to someone who has passed in transition, then write it. Dear so-and-so, I need to say this. Please forgive me for this. I'm sorry for this. Knowing that we're all acting with the best, we're all doing the best we can, really, honestly, from our point of education and experience and understanding. So there may be things we feel bad about because we didn't know better. But we know better now, so we have to try to make amends for it. This is not because we can fix what happened. This is so that our soul releases the guilt and lightens up, because our souls are not heavy, dense objects. They are white light. They vibrate at the rate of the cosmos at 432 hertz, at the frequency of love and healing. So when we pile guilt on top of it, you just put an anvil on that gorgeousness. Why would you do that? Okay, so now it's not about adding more guilt, because I did that. It's about, how do I release, how do I lighten it? So if there's something that needs to be righted or made better, because healing, the word healing actually just means to make better, then we do everything that we can. If we can go to this person in the tangible physical world, if we can write an email, if we can go have a conversation, if we can return something or repay something, then we need to do it. And if you go, I can't repay it in full, I can't return this thing, then we do the best that we can towards that in order to release the guilt, because we're all working with the information and the experiences and the awareness that we have at any given moment. As we age, as we mature, we hope to be working with more and more and more and more and more. This is wisdom. Again, as we age and mature, we should be integrating information and lessons into more and more and more and more wisdom. So the things that we did in the past that really were not good, we can make amends for those things in one way or another. Okay? But it asks us to step forward and be brave and admit it and go, I need to do something about that. Okay? The other bit of guilt is when other people have made you feel wrong. And this, I think this is where guilt gets tricky, and where, even as I'm talking through it, trying to make clear constructs of what guilt is, how to work with it, where to see the flags, where to, stake your claim, how to work with it. Other people can, really nobody can make you feel anything guilty. This idea that our mamas, guilt us into things. No, they're acting from their level of awareness and capacity and education. We are taking it on as guilt. That's why when you meet people, and in particular women, who don't suck up guilt, and they go, I made this choice. You made that choice. I don't agree with it. You go on. And people think that it's a cold kind of scenario. It's a boundary. That shit's not mine. I'm not carrying it around. I don't need to feel bad for it. So this awareness of how other people are acting and making you feel, that's actually yours. Now, that's a little harsh, right? Because people do navigate and try to make us feel guilty, and it doesn't feel good. And we're like, oh, how do we get out of this? And so we tend to absorb it. Then this turns into unworthiness. This person said these things about me. They said I didn't show up for them. I didn't, do this. It's usually about showing up for people or what we didn't do for them. That's their problem. They're not handling their own stuff. And so we can take it on as guilt because we haven't known any better. But now that you're watching this, you're getting called out. The guilt that someone else makes you feel, that is not their fault. It's yours. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying, again, just like a wound, it's equal to the wound. The wound that you incurred is probably not your fault, but the healing is your responsibility. So guilt, same thing, is probably not your fault. What is being wielded and thrown at you, right? You didn't make them talk like that. You didn't make them, you didn't earn it. But now that it's there, what will you do with it? So this is worthiness. Guilt tends to come from this sense of unworthiness. I'm not enough. I didn't show up for you. I didn't do it the way you wanted me to do it. And I feel really terrible about that. So you still have the same two choices. Did you really not show up for this person and you genuinely feel bad about it? Okay, then make amends somehow. Or is this person putting too much of their life experience on you and trying to make you responsible for their happiness? Not fair. Not yours. And then that's up to you to create healthy boundaries, self-love. It all boils down to self-love, self-empowerment. And how do we generate self-love and self-empowerment and healing? We do that through spiritual ritual, connection to divine spirit, through self-care, of movement on the mat, and fueling ourselves with foods that nurture and nourish us. And this is about creating boundaries. That's not mine anymore. And to hell with people who think you're cold, right? You start to feel really anchored in who you are and the decisions you make and how you show up. You cannot live other people's lives for them. You cannot generate joy for somebody else. You cannot generate joy for somebody else. You can only generate healing and joy and self-love for yourself. You can love people, but when it turns into martyrdom, into guilt, into bleeding you dry, into you not feeling joy, that's not healthy. So this too heavy, guilt is too heavy. It's just too heavy to haul around. Ma ain't gonna like it when she balances the scales in your lifetime against a feather. It's not gonna work. So Pisces season, if you're feeling drug under by the anvil, look towards where you feel guilty about things. Who are the people that you engage with that make you feel the most guilt? Unfortunately, it's probably gonna be our mothers. And unfortunately, then we're going to have to look at the mother wound. And then look, we're back at this cycle of mother wound healing. Awesome. Go back a few videos and listen to all of the bits of healing the mother wound and understanding what it is and what's yours in it and what's not, and releasing. So I'm a big fan of letter writing, either to people or to your guides and guardian angels, just spilling how you feel, what you wish went a different way, how you wish to make things right in any way possible, and these things are something better for the highest and greatest good of all involved, and then burn it up in a fire-safe space. And let energies take care of it. And let that transmute into forgiveness and wisdom and the lightening of the load and into healing. Okay? So I'm going to look over the notes to see if the linear sense out of this topic for us. And honestly, like, how do you heal it? You keep doing exactly what we're doing, especially as members of UnicornWellness.Studio. You get on the mat. You handle your body with respect and care. You integrate your own energies into your own physical body. You meditate, you anchor in the tarot, and you just keep walking the path one foot at a time. But when we get into these places where the astrology is asking us to release bigger than we typically would, you're feeling drug under, you're feeling helpless, this is a huge call to transition and release and letting go of something. And right now in this week, it's asking us to let go of guilt. And you got to be clear of what guilt is. You're shaming yourself is what guilt is. And we can also feel shame and criticism and guilt from others, typically a mother wound. Here we go. We're back to the mother wound, right? Maybe it was the father wound because we've moved more into that territory, but I'm still hearing this mother wound stuff and then this confusion of father wound. Like, it's just here. What did we hear? What did we witness? What behaviors did we see modeled that we took on as ours that aren't ours? Because if you're a unicorn and you're here and you're watching, you understand, it resonates with you that our set point is healing and love and wholeness and magic, right? But if we're still living in fear and guilt and self-deprivation and criticism, self-criticism, then we're not talking we're talking the talk, we're not walking the walk. So then there's a lack of integrity. I believe one thing, but I'm not living in it. I am not demonstrating it in the world. And there's always work to do, right? So this week we get pointed out as it being guilt. I'm going to look over my notes real quick. You guys ask questions, comment, please, 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 please. Because this is a bigger one. Might be a little heavier, and I'm not sure that I'm making the most linear sense. But this is what needs to be talked. This is the conversation that needs to begin this week. And I'm sure I'll be doing this again because I'll do a recap to make more sense of it. But post your comments and your questions as you have them. Yeah, I'm totally being quiet right now because I'm reading my notes. I think we covered most of it. I mean, when you release and heal guilt, it turns into empowerment. It's very empowering to be able to stand in something and go, that's not my stuff today. And then decide, do I want to support this person and participate in what they're going through because they're wielding guilt at us, and we can choose to accept it or go, that's not mine. And then go, that person is hurting. If there's a window, I'd like to hold space for them and participate in their healing, but I'm not taking it on to make me feel bad because I didn't really do anything wrong, right? I'm checking the comments. Oh, I like the emojis. Throw some emojis up there too. So when guilt is released and healed, it turns into empowerment. There is, just like anger, to recap, guilt points the direction of where the wound is, right? But understand that guilt is one of the most martyrdom, victim-y, like, and Pisces in its imbalance is totally the victim, by the way. Okay, so if that's the feeling right now of like, oh, I'm so awful, I'm so terrible, pointing where you need healing. So there's, you know, where were we made to feel wrong? Where do we feel like we did wrong? If we felt like we did wrong, look at, was your intention to do wrong? Sometimes our intention is to hurt somebody else because they hurt us, right? Here we go back to hurt. Sadness and love, anger and love, sadness and love. These are really the only two things we've got. You can dial them up or down, but they're the same things, okay? Meaning the two ends of the spectrum of where the wounding is and where the healing is. And healing always points to self-care, self-love, and connection to spirit, okay? So you have to look at, was your intention to hurt somebody? Maybe. Then you got to own that too. I'm sorry, I said something really terrible because I wanted you to hurt the way I did. That's honest, okay? Or, you know, just the awareness. Sometimes we have no awareness, and now we're in ownership of awareness, and then we have to work with awareness. Yeah, I knew that when that came out of my mouth, that was going to be hurtful. Damn it. I got to apologize. You know, it's all in the recovery, right? Guilt, the usefulness in it is all in how we use it and how we work with it and how we allow it to help us heal or let it capsize us. These are the choices in anything. It's the same for anger, right? When we start to get angry, we can't always control all of our emotions. I don't believe that. I think that's not quite human. You know, we need to be allowed to be angry, to express anger, to say frustrations, and we have to hold space for each other, right? As a culture, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to hold space. We hear somebody angry, immediate guilt. Hello, patriarchal culture. Because fear and guilt keep you under control. So when you release guilt, not a whole lot can control you. You're truly responsible for your decisions and your actions and how you feel, your capacity for joy or for what in the world. I don't even know what time it is. Okay. So you have to use it, right? When you have feelings of guilt, did I do something wrong? Yes, no. You know, then it's the, what's the chart? If yes, head down this path. Okay, if you did something genuinely wrong, how can you remedy it? How can you rectify it? Is there something in the tangible 3D world that you can do to make it better? Yes, no. If no, then write your letters to your guides and guardian angels. Burn it up. If yes, there's something you can do, you have to be brave. You have to have some sand kicked in your face. You got to eat some crow. You're going to have to go apologize or try to rectify this somehow. Okay? But there's growth in that, right? We're all wrong at some point, all of us. So this idea of awareness is that maybe guilt never goes away, but our awareness of it strengthens. And then when we have awareness, we can work with it. So this is just like our shadow side, right? Our shadow side is all the stuff we don't like. So guilt is hiding in our shadow side. We can look at all it, put it all out of the dark, and dump that big old purse out and go, what's in there? And then you can clean some of it out. You can release some of it. You can give some of it away. You can recycle some of it. And you go, I'm going to put these neat little items back in and carry that around with me and love it. And maybe you need a new purse, meaning we all have baggage, right? So maybe you just need an upgrade in how you carry that baggage. Maybe you need a backpack, hands-free, you know? So it's in our awareness, of where these emotions come from, how we work with them, how we transmute them, because this is healing. We're only and can never be responsible for ourselves and how we feel. Okay? So guilt is like so 2006. Get rid of it. Start to navigate without it. You may get some feedback from the people who tried to make you feel guilty, right? That now you're cold. You don't even care. You're not even listening. I'm listening, and I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not taking that on. That particular thing is not my responsibility. I did everything I felt that was necessary in order to help soothe this, and I feel that the other steps are yours to work with. I'm sorry. No sorries. You know, start to let that shit bounce off a little bit. Keep it in their own corral, not in yours. Okay, there's also, as I went through today, okay, so the healing of guilt, right? Well, it is. It's so 2006, okay? It's really antiquated. Hauling around guilt, especially as a unicorn in this world, especially as somebody striving to ascend, striving to have the highest expression of their soul in this lifetime, then it's really antiquated and outdated. You got to get rid of it. Okay? So it's totally the thing. Let that shit go. Last week in our weekly tarot, it was about release and surrender. That's just letting it go. I can't control everything. I thought today was mildly hysterical. It was really minimal. I couldn't get both platforms to work. I have a laptop and a great phone to work with. And usually I mirror them on 2 platforms. For the life of me, I couldn't get one to work. I got to let it go. I got to make a choice and I got to show up. You know, you can't, things are, I think one of the brilliant things is that things actually are really simple. We just have to allow them to be simple so that we can have a solution to them. It's not complicated to get fit or healthy. You have to adjust your eating styles. You have to move your body consistently in a kind way, and you need to rest enough. That will bring results for any body, literally. That's what I love about training and what I loved about personal training. What mucks it up, put on top of that, why they don't want to do it, how that doesn't work for them, all the ways that it's complicated. No, it's not complicated. You're unwilling to make adjustments for results. That is not complicated. Now, that's not judgment either. So you have a choice. You can choose to adjust food, rest, and movement or not. And whatever choice you make is totally wonderful. Don't take on guilt because you made this choice instead of this. That is self-sabotage. That is self-deprecating. That is not divine, and that ain't unicorn. The best we can do is, I totally made this decision. I'm not ready to go here yet. That's where I'm at. Guilt-free zone. You know? So, got something in my throat. Hold, please. Guilt, once healed, turns into strength. It's empowerment. Because guilt, release of guilt, is I made this choice. And then I made a choice to try to make it better, to try to rectify it. It either got better or it didn't, but I tried. Now my soul is not so heavy. Now the anvil is released. I did everything in my current awareness, cognitive capacity, and emotional understanding and energetic experiences to make this situation better. Whether that person accepted it or not is really kind of beside the point. I did everything I could on my checklist to try to make this better, and I released the energy from my soul. No more anvil, right? So solutions actually are very simple. What is not simple is the way we complicate them as a human being who resists change. So Pisces season asks us to surrender to change, to endings, to release, to have faith. And again, we're asking to have faith. So water, ocean, is psychic capacity, it's love, it's divine spirit. We're being asked to surrender to divine spirit. Do I trust, or do I think I need to control everything? Can I trust to let it go for now? Or do I really need to complicate it and make more mess of it? And there was a comment and I didn't see it. Oh, Oh, good. Yeah. Okay, good, Jen, because I'm over here like today is definitely one of those days where I get the channeled information and I go, here's what we're supposed to run with and here's what we're supposed to roll with. And I've made little notes and then I go, I don't know if that made any sense today, but it has begun the conversation. And I know that we'll get it more in tune this week. It's kind of like you guys get the full, like straight on channel, which is why I stutter and I can't always get the words out fast enough because I can feel it and I can hear it. But then words fail us in this construct often. Okay. So, um, yeah, I'm glad. That's the whole goal, right? Is to have it make sense. So good, Aaron and Jen, that you're reflecting that it's making sense, especially these connections to relationships that hold us down and hold us back. It's not necessarily the person that's holding us back. It's their running systems. It's their outdated programming. And they haven't done the healing. They're not doing the work. You cannot do the work for them. You might throw them a Unicorn Wellness handbook every once in a while, but that doesn't mean you can only do yours, right? And so this idea that once we heal guilt, it turns into strength. It turns into empowerment. This turns into Queen of Wands. She's a fierce, kind of scary bitch, but she's great. She's creative. She's magical. She doesn't take anybody's shit. And that's because she knows it's not hers. Nope, don't have time for that. I'm doing other things. I got love to give over here and presents to give over here, so I am not paying attention to you anymore. Your ship is dragging me down. I'm sorry. And it doesn't have to come out mean. It just has to have its... That's what a boundary is, distance. And believe me, in my lifetime, I have been called a cold bitch often, and from family members and from my own mother. Because I could, in certain times, recognize where somebody's deficiencies were not mine. And then that becomes, well, if you're unwilling to come to the table to work things out for a solution, or you're unwilling to evolve and to change, or to take any self-responsibility, I can't participate in this relationship with you because that is unhealthy. That's emotionally vampiric. That is unfair and unhealthy. And I have a choice to remove myself from the situation, so I choose to do that. It became easier when I had children because I made those choices for them, not to be around that toxic stuff. But whether you have children or not, we're worth those choices. Okay? So when you heal guilt, it turns into strength and empowerment. But understand that you're going to get kickback for that too. Because once you're standing in an empowered place and you're not feeding them energy and you're not feeling the guilt machine, then they're going to be upset with you because they're not getting their fix, right? Like a bully. Really, actually, let's discuss that for a second. All the mother stuff, so it's really, you guys, let me know if you're still here and it looks like it is. I hit the wrong, see, I'm like, get excited and hit buttons. Shit. The mother stuff is deep, okay, but family stuff is deep and healing is deep. And then I lost my train of thought because I hit the wrong button. I hope you guys are all still here. Okay, sorry, Sue. That guilt turns into strength, but be prepared that when you step into your empowerment, people aren't going to like it. This is where I was going. Someone who wields guilt, regardless of who it is, they're a bully, and it is emotionally vampiric. They're poking, and they've had a history of pulling energy from you. And the more into it you get, the more energy they get. So when you cut off emotionally, energetically, and you put it boundary and you go, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not responding to that. Literally, that's a really I'm not responding to that. Emails, phone calls, nasty text. I'm not responding to that because that's me. And you can start to see where they fish for it, right? That's their mode of navigation. That doesn't have to be yours. And you can choose not to respond. Or to respond in a way that you feel like builds a boundary, or respond, I'm willing, this is like therapy 101. I am willing to respond 3 times to this kind of engagement to try to create a solution for both of us. Then I'm going to cut it off because then it's unhealthy. Some people, I tend to cut things off right away, only because I've seen people shit. I don't want to do it. That's not always helpful too. But be prepared for people to not like it, to call you names, to make it your deficit. Okay, that's the hardest part, I think, because then they will tell us we are unloving, that we don't care. That's not true, but we have to care for ourselves first. We cannot live someone else's life, okay? It is the most important to cherish this life, to cherish the life of our loved ones that support us. Oh, good. Hi, Pearl. This is the bit, okay? So healing guilt turns into empowerment. Yeah, I mean these, so healing guilt turns into strength and empowerment. When I pulled the card, I always pull a card on Tangent Tuesday of what I'm supposed to be talking about, and it went a little circuitous. It was the Strength card, which is a major arcana card. Strength and empowerment, right? Empowerment takes risk and it takes release. It's a leap, and it's also faith and surrender. That if I do this and I let go of this, like if I quit this job because I hate it and I know it's the wrong thing, then I have to have faith that something bigger and better is on its way for me. So we have to think of guilt as the terrible job. It's like the worst job. So it's like guilt is totally the worst job in the whole world, and it generates bad manifestations too. Yeah, and Five of Wands is very similar. Put down the arguments. Quit. They're fruitless. They're pointless, right? Change the way you engage with fire, anger, argument, frustration. So the Strength card, it's showing us a shift in our karma, in our internal programming systems, at our soul level. This is what soul expansion is. This is what ascension is. We start to navigate from higher frequencies because we see the low frequencies, right? Not that we quit functioning with them. I mean, that'd be great. That would be magnificent. But that would make us an ascended master. Cool. Maybe there's one of us in the group here. But ascended masters are like Mary Magdalene. This is Jesus. This is Buddha. This is, Kuan Yin. Like, these are ascended masters really are. They navigate from such a high level in their earthly incarnation that they don't have any of these low level frequencies any longer. Maybe there's one of us here in the group. That would be really cool. But mostly we're human and we're still going to have low frequency feelings and experiences. And so the goal is to be aware of it. And then how do we work with it? Do we let it capsize us and head down the shame, anger, frustration, guilt path? Or do we allow it to transmute and boost us into strength and empowerment? So within this, I will start to wrap up, okay? That within healing guilt and moving into strength and empowerment, there is something in this about naming, okay? There's something about naming. And this is like a, a card reading of its own. That I get these bits, channeled information, and they go, I'm not quite sure how they sift out just yet. That naming things, right? We talk about the point of tears. It can be the moment of healing. Like when we poke on a wound and we get the, that, not to cartoonize it, but that really can be all the healing that's necessary is just to feel it, to cry, and to heal it. Okay, naming it can also be a moment of healing. Sometimes healing happens really fast. It's just about recognizing it and naming it. Claim it. That's mine. That's my mom's. That comes from my mom. Ooh, now I get a choice. I can move away from that or I continue to do that. Choices. I am no longer blind to what's going on or where it comes from or my participation in it. Okay, so when you name where the guilt comes from or who it comes from, this is a potential, the instigation of healing or the healing itself. Maybe you just need to go, oh my God, I tend to have those. That's where that comes from? Okay. And then the awareness and the understanding of where it comes from takes the weight off, takes the guilt off, takes the anvil off. Okay, so also in yesterday's weekly tarot reading, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. It's here on the YouTube channel. There was a thing about identity, right? In this Pisces ending, Pisces season, here we go, trying to make a full circle. Aries, okay, I promise this goes together. Aries is the I am. Who am I? Okay, because Aries is me first. Pisces, because we're coming to a closure and an ending of this Pisces season, there is an issue for some of us and as a collective. I'm not saying everybody's going to have this issue, but it's a collective energy right now of who am I? What is my identity? And so there is an issue of naming ourselves. Okay. And yesterday I shared that I'm making new business cards, and it's been a really interesting thing. It's been this like butterfly, meh, and then I did it yesterday and I ordered cards and I felt so amazing. And then today I woke up and I go, is that really who I am now? Meaning that who we are, what we call ourselves, how we call ourselves, how we name ourselves, how other people name ourselves is so intense and important. So if we have other people on the outside naming us things that keep us in guilt and shame and fear, that's an identity issue. When we heal guilt, we're changing our identity. Let that one sit. Okay? So this is how healing guilt becomes empowerment. I will share mine because I feel like, sharing stories, throat clearing. Through sharing our stories, we become more empowered. We empower ourselves and we support each other to tell each of our own stories because we are unique, but we are also connected. Okay? So I have had conflict for for a lifetime, but in particular the last 3 years of what do I call myself now? I'm not a personal trainer. Yeah, but no. And I'm a teacher. Am I a spiritual teacher? I know that I'm a healer, but am I a witch? What kind of permissions do I need to call myself a witch? And man, that kickback from that word. Okay, so there's identity issues, but in the past, I've been working from a permission, what makes somebody else comfortable, what are their feelings about those things, versus a place of empowerment. How do I feel about myself? No one should get to name us except for us. Who are you? So this is where Alice in Wonderland comes in, why I love Alice in Wonderland. There's so much about naming. What is your name? Who are you? And she goes, I don't know, I've been 17 people today. I don't even know who I was. I'm quite different from when I woke up this morning, right? So naming is important, but we tend to take on names from others and then are working with guilt and shame and criticism because of those, because that doesn't connect at a soul level. That's not integrity. And I do believe that within this Pisces ending and healing of the astrological new year, and as we move into Aries, I am, me, that we as a collective, anybody watching this video, anybody it gets shared with, that we need to name ourselves. It's come up a lot in private readings I see with clients in the last few weeks of the spirit in which to move through things. There's been a lot of witch cards out there. And then I picked up another book this week. Yeah, I almost did a little crowdsourcing yesterday for title, but I felt like very important for me to name myself. And I'm still not certain I got it right, but take the leap. It's different than before, and what's clarity? There needs to be some clarity in the world also. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like spiritual teacher in there, which I know, but I feel that falls under the category of healer. And so I kind of looked at umbrellas, but what I want you all to hear, yeah, so Erin, remember that our charts are 12 layers. The basis, our foundation of our personality is our sun, rising, and moon. But the placement of where things sit smooth it over. And as we grow and mature, we balance out the imbalances. Constructive confidence as an Aries is really important. I count. Me first. Then I can give love. And my oldest son is Aries rising. But he's very loving. He's a little ahead of himself, but so it's not that Aries is unloving. It's that the imbalance of Aries is destructive, anger, warrior, no thought for anyone else. Barrel through. But that's not all there is to them, And so there is something here in this Pisces season. So everybody who's present or watching this video, I encourage you to name yourself before March 20th comes along. Well, there you go, Erin. So yeah, so I encourage you all to really go, who do people think I am? Who do I want to be? Who you want to be is who you are. That's who your soul, that's your soul's calling, right? That's who you want to be. So name yourself, claim yourself, claim your soul. Everybody else's judgment, guilt, be damned. So I think that within this how to heal guilt, of acknowledging whether you've really done something wrong or not that needs to be amended somehow in any way, shape, or form at any level, or whether it's somebody else who's putting this on you, you're still responsible for the feelings at play. But this is really an emotionally vampiric relationship that needs to be cut. Okay? And so you can do that. And then, you know, when guilt comes up, awareness of it. How do you deal with it? And do you deal with it or do you let it capsize you? So there starts to be a breakdown here. But when you heal guilt, it becomes empowerment. And there is empowerment in naming things. So I do see a relationship between feeling guilty from someone else, from a relationship space, but even from yourself. Because we haven't named ourselves. We haven't claimed ourselves, right? There's all kinds of ways to do that. But I kind of feel like I should give you all the assignment to like make your own business card for your soul. Make a business card for your soul. Who are you? Who is your soul? What is the essence of your soul? If you name your soul, then nobody can take that away from you. If you're really in empowerment, you know who you are. I am a child of God. I know who I really am. I am stardust. I am infinite. I am whole. I am healthy. I am healing. I'm a healer. I'm a witch. I'm a witch. You know, I give equal weight to the light and to the dark and the shadow, and I work to alchemize those for the highest and greatest good. I believe in the unseen and the power of the unseen, but I very much believe in this 3D incarnation as well, in balance. I believe in the balance of humanity and divinity. So make a business card for your soul before March 20th. Because then you know who you are. That will tell you what your habits are, right? I'm head unicorn. My habits better be consistent mat time and fuel that resonates with my own food code and showing up for you all and honesty and integration and being, you know, I'm going to have failures and mistakes too. I'm not going to do everything perfectly. I do not. And sometimes the details I'm not so good at because I'm big spectrum, right? So make a business card for your soul. This will help you ease the guilt. This will help you release and heal the guilt, because when you know who your soul really is, no one can take that away from you, or you create better boundaries to it. And then the guilt goes. Okay, if you guys do this, please, I want to see your soul's business card. I'm a big fan of this. See, look what comes out. Yeah, the days that I don't know what I'm going to say, and sometimes it's rough getting going, but it's a channeled experience, and I know whatever comes through is the right thing. So thank you for sticking with me through the hour and then some. And it does take some time to kind of warm up. But this one was a newer where I went, oh, we haven't done a lot with this. I mean, we have in like really pedantic ways, but not like at the soul level. Okay? So I am going to log off now. Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm not logging off if you guys are going to share already. If you guys already know who you are, you throw it up there. And just so you all know, on my business card it now says healer, wellness witch, and tarot reader. I figured those were the biggest umbrellas. I couldn't fit everything on a business card, right? So we have to choose some big stepping stones. We have to choose a big umbrella. You know, so just choose some umbrellas, because when you know who you are, when you know who your soul is, then that emotionally vampiric stuff that people do, you catch it faster, you don't engage as much, and all of a sudden your soul lightens because you're not engaged in it, and you can go, that's their stuff. Now, careful of hermiting and never engaging, Or, as people know, when they go through their ascension, there's a fall off of friends and it's real lonely. Part of the process. Okay? But you always have the unicorns, and you always have me. And I'm so grateful for you all in this community. Personally, honestly. And thank you for letting me channel for you. And bring you messages that I don't even get and that are messy and unstructured. And then we'll kind of give them structure throughout the week. Okay? I love you all very much. Please, please, please remember to like these videos. Leave a comment below. And I would really, really appreciate if you all can share or start to share some of these videos. They are the lifeblood. This is the way we share it. This is the way we help. If it speaks to you and this work speaks to you and really helps you on your path, please share them. Yeah, a little bit of begging, but it is like sprinkling fairy dust and unicorn dust out in the world, and I would really appreciate it. Okay, I love you all very much. I'll be live again this week. I know that for a fact. And what else? It'll be on the YouTube channel. Maybe we can get both to work again. I don't know. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for hanging out with me on Tangent Tuesday. And then if you haven't been on the mat, go get on the mat. And if you're not a member of Mat and Kitchen, oh my God, I just said the wrong thing. Holy, what is going on today? If you are not a member of UnicornWellness.Studio, link below, promo code, go try it for 30 days as a guest for free and allow that to help with the clean sweeps and the healing and the purging and the process. Okay? All right. I'm going. I love you all very, very, very much. Oh my God. Erin, there's like a whole nother live I wanted to share with you guys last week. I'll do it on Instagram because it's not as deep. Okay. I love you guys. Bye.